Recording.
Okay, you
Oh,
can
there
see.
you are. Great.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so welcome to class 7, and we'll review class 6 in some detail on July 10 for Family Recovery Essentials. I'm going to start to share my screen. And get to... Okay, so just real quick for a review of session 6. Session 6 is all about listening and then improving our connection and communication. So session 6 and 7 are really, we talk about very distinct communication techniques so that you've got a variety for a variety of situations that will come up with not just your children, but anybody really. And it's really like to raise our awareness about what listening is. So listening is really not, okay, I'm not speaking, but I'm thinking of what I'm going to say next, because that's not listening. We're not even registering what's being said. We might think we are, but we're really not. We're not present. And it's not listening so that we can gather ammunition and evidence to prove someone wrong, and it's not analyzing them. What it is we are essentially willing to hold a space with great curiosity and presence, and a willingness to ask questions so that we really understand where someone is coming from and what they mean. Not assuming what they mean, but really, asking directly, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Can you help me understand? So it's bringing our whole self into this listening process. If I'm looking the other way, or I'm sighing or rolling my eyes, I'm not listening, or if my body's closed off, I'm not really listening. So it's bringing our whole body, mind, and spirit to the listening process. Because, oh my gosh, I know have you ever felt truly heard?
Feels good.
And when someone is really trying to understand what you're saying, and they stay with you until they do, what did that feel like?
Good.
Right? It's so connecting. Just feels so cared for. But for me too, I know that this is how my kids trust me. Or they're going to trust the one who's not going to listen. I'd rather have them trust the one who is better at listening than not. And it takes great patience, great practice. A way to do that is to, again, question your fears, question your judgments, question what would hold you back from forgiving, what would keep you in guilt or shame. Clear that out in yourself, and then you're listening to you, which allows you to listen to somebody else, because it's no threat. Like, you don't really have to prove yourself right anymore, because you're in a calmer, more peaceful, centered place. The other thing is breathing while listening. And in the earlier, I think it was maybe the first session, definitely by the second session, you have a handout on flooding, when the emotions start to rise and we start to lose it, what we can do. So it's, if you're having a hard time listening and being present, it's like, okay, I must be silent. Even if I'm not listening, it's breathing, get up, go to another environment, move your arms, lift your legs up and down, so that you're not overcome by your emotions if you can't do anything else. So again, your worksheets, when you write them, and I advise you to question each statement, a statement on each in each line, those wants, shoulds, and needs are your prescription for peace. It shows you how to be a loving mirror. It shows you how to make sense and get clarity for you, take care of you so that your energy is free and your attention is available to connect with somebody else. It's really not, it's the direct path. I know for me, if I don't do that, the monster is going to come up. It's going to be stressful because I'm just not clear. So, my baggage comes in. So listening and communication is going to take curiosity, empathy, and compassion. It's going to take connection so that we communicate effectively. So that really does take practicing this calming, if not daily, more times than not, your calming and your peace skills, affirmations, deep breathing, conscious breathing, breathing as you're moving from one room to another or one activity to another, guided meditation. How's that going for everybody? Gratitude.
I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm. Great. I know this past week I definitely slipped, and I was just feeling so much and allowing the feelings, but I wasn't really taking care. I wasn't starting my day with gratitude. I wasn't doing my inquiry, and again, I just slid into pain. Not taking care of it. The pain was okay. I was allowing it and honoring those emotions, but had I been doing more than I was doing, I think I would have served myself a whole lot better. It was unavoidable stress, but I could have moved through it more gracefully. Let's see. Okay, so curiosity, a very strong desire to know or learn something. And it doesn't mean we report what we're learning, right? It's for our own learning. Empathy is the ability to understand someone's feelings, not to necessarily join them. If someone's suffering over there and I go over there and I join their suffering, I'm not really so available anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't feel, that I don't understand their suffering, but I'm much more available to attend to them with compassion and understanding and support if I'm not feeling it for them. So I'll have my feelings, but I'm not joining and feeling it for them. And can you see, of course we feel with other people because we're compassionate, we're connected. But if they go down the rabbit hole and I go down the rabbit hole, how am I with them? How am I going to support them to climb out of the rabbit hole? If that's what they want.
I went down the rabbit hole this week.
Yeah. And there really is a beauty. So when you go down the rabbit hole, if it has something to teach you, if it has something to just show you, how could that be a good thing to go down the rabbit hole?
It's not.
No? So did you raise your awareness to anything by going down the rabbit hole?
But I don't like going down the rabbit hole.
So if you don't like going down the rabbit hole, how can that serve you?
It doesn't. I mean, other people might not think I went down the rabbit hole, but I feel like I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, if I go down the rabbit hole, I see that I'm more patient with myself. I honor my emotions. I'm not running away from them. And it also allows me to see what I'm not doing for self-care. Put the puppy back on the paper. So it's a good wake-up call. It's like, you know what? I know what I could be doing and I'm not doing it. And if I want to feel better, I'm going to have to do it.
Yep.
Like,
It's a good lesson.
yeah, so that's how it's like, how does it serve me? It reinforces the fact that I have to deliberately choose. Because the rabbit hole is going to be there sometimes. But I have to deliberately choose to come out of that hole eventually. So when we talk about communication too, we are talking about tone of voice and body language. Our body language speaks volumes, sometimes louder than our words. So when we practice this calming and peacefulness and coming out of fear and into understanding, which the understanding is peace and love, that will take an effect in our energy and how our body is speaking. Because we're not fooling anybody, really.
And they know too, our kids know they can read it. Like, even if we think we're not showing anything.
Yeah.
They
Do
know.
you ever notice, like, when you're with somebody and you're like, ooh, oh, they seem a little angry, right?
Yeah.
They haven't even said anything. They might be smiling. They might even be smiling.
Yeah.
But right?
Yep.
It's like, we're not fooling anybody. So when we talk about what we're talking about in how we communicate, it is no small matter to do our peace practices so that we show up in the tone of voice, with the body language, and what we'll talk about with our written script. So when it comes to delivering our communication, we're doing it pretty cleanly so that we are not contributing to conflict. So all of this is about connecting. Again, in your handout from session 6 and prior, there's a handout, Communicating with Love. Gives you lots and lots of tips. And then there's also, I want to pull some things up. This motivational interviewing, I think this was in the second session. Open-ended questions. So this gives you a lot of like verbatim things that you can ask. What, how? Essentially, it's what, how. If you phrase everything in what, how, you're encouraging thought. And you're communicating very effectively. Okay, so what I mean by open-ended questions is it's anything that is this what, how, it's you open it up to a longer answer, not just a yes, no answer. How are you doing? Good. What was your day like? Fine. How's your day? Good. Where, what was what did you experience today? What was good about your day? Or what was new about your day? How did you experience that? What, how? Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Hi. So more communication tips. If you are listening and if there's some stress going on, you just say, I hear you. I hear you. Tell me more about that. Again, it's curious. So tell me more about that. I'm curious. Then what happened? Or just validating, acknowledging someone, that does sound painful. I don't have to agree or advise, like, that you're withdrawing. Yeah, that sounds painful. Because it is. Or I hear your frustration. I'm not trying to fix it. I'm not enabling, but I hear it and I'm validating. Yeah, I hear frustration. Yeah. Or yeah, that must be hard. It's like reflecting. It's being this loving mirror, reflecting back so they can hear themselves and have an opportunity to take care of it themselves. Again, like if there's abuse, get yourself out safe, just because you are not a doormat, you're not a punching bag. We'll talk about boundaries too. Like, just be safe, care for you. We do teach people how to treat us. I've used this with my son. I really want to understand, but it's hard to hear through the comments and the loud voices. And I put myself in there just in case. I said, let's talk when both of us are calm. I'm not saying, you're not calm and your voice is raised, you're angry. I can't, I'm not listening to you when you're angry. It's like, I really can't hear and understand you when our voices are loud. So let's talk when we're both calm. I love you. I'm going to hang up now. I'd like to talk to you tomorrow if that works. Or if we're saying something that we know it's hard to say and it's hard for them to hear, it's like, just say directly the truth. I know it's hard to hear. I just want to clear the air and share what I'm seeing and hearing. I love you. See you for dinner. So we're going to learn to keep it really short and sweet and very deliberate. So, okay, so we're going to move in. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even doing that. So we're going to move into the bomb conversation. And this is still review from last week, and then we'll go into more detail. So again, to the bomb conversation is about being a loving mirror, and it's the method is called, it's a mini intervention. That when there is denial, when there is conflict, when there is active using, when someone's behavior is what you think is destructive, it's a mini intervention to bring it into the open in an effective way, and express love. So it's and expressing love at the same time. It requires being calm. It requires your noticing, being objective, so coming out of fear and into truth and love. It requires just stating the facts as you see and hear them, and preparing carefully, and then delivering it. We'll go into more detail. So the facts, if you start to recall situations, stressful situations with anybody, and you need to have a very difficult conversation with somebody, I was just talking to somebody today about it. So she went on and on, like, oh, me and my husband said that we wouldn't allow his son's dog to be in my house. His son is an active alcoholic. The husband is in recovery, and the father let the dog in the house. And she felt very disrespected, so she reacted. She's like, what's the dog doing in the house? We have a rule. You have to go. And everybody turned on her. Her husband, his sons. So if she had held off and journaled this incident, we might hear that, and then we would cross out all her emotions. We would cross out her judgments. They disrespected me. They gave me the evil eye. We'd cross all that out. We'd cross out her opinion, and we would cross out anything that has to do with past and future. So essentially what we came up with was, oh, the dog's in the kitchen. Have a good day. Nice to see you. See you next time. And what she would have learned was that the dog wasn't necessarily in the house. They were passing through the house. So it wasn't what she thought it was. But when she got into the kitchen, it could be like, oh, I see the dog in the house. So she's bringing it out in the open that we know there's a rule. There was a rule about no dog in the house. Now she sees the dog in the house. Good to see you. Hope you had a nice swim. See you next time. So she's stating her love. It's not appropriate for her to say I love you to to her husband's son, but she offered her kindness. See you next time. It was good to see you. And that would have said, I see the dog in the house and we have a rule and no more than that, you know?
But that would have said that if she said, I see the dog in the house, do you think that would have said that, like acknowledging silently that we have this rule and you guys are breaking it and I just want to scream?
No, but it would have avoided the mess that transpired. Her husband got mad at her in front of the boys, and now she's the collective enemy.
Yeah.
So this was a mini intervention. If she had said, oh, I see the dog in the house, then it would be like, oh yeah, we're just passing through. Oh, okay, yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
See you next time. Thanks for honoring not having the dog in the house because you're just passing through. See how it's different?
Or like, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
If my son's eyes are puffy,
Mm.
and I look at him, I see that your eyes are puffy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And then run out and start crying? No, I'm just kidding. So that's just it. And then he'd look at me and just say, no, they're not, or something like that. And that would be the end. Would I say, are you tired? Because I've done that before. Just this manipulating. I'm trying to get into who he is at the time.
Well, we wouldn't ask that. Are you tired?
We would not ask that.
No, the mini intervention is specifically just saying what you see and hear.
Okay, so are you tired is not that.
It's not that.
Okay.
If you have,
that's assuming, right?
it is. It's just not part of the balm conversation.
Yeah.
If the balm conversation, if especially if someone's using, it's like, I see your eyes are puffy, or I see your eyes are dilated. No, they're not. You know, I believe what I see, and I love you.
Okay, yeah, that would be so much better than all this whole thing.
Right. Because it's like, you know, I believe what I see. Yeah, okay, whatever. But there's no argument there. It's done. The conversation's done. No, I'm telling you your eyes are dilated. You don't, no, I just believe what I see.
Because it can escalate. It's like, okay, I'm going to get a drug test and just do this whole screaming thing instead, or I believe what I see. That's a big deal for me.
I believe what I see.
And
I know it's hard to hear. I say it because I love you.
Yeah. And that's a fact too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, it's not like every single time I'm going to just rail at you because now I've got this tool. I'm going to keep telling you what I see and hear. So it's using it with care. This is, again, the whole thing. It's a mini intervention to come out of denial when somebody doesn't want to hear anything we have to say. Like, I'm expressing this because I love you. And yes, I do have concerns. And because I truly trust what I see and hear. I am not in denial. I'm not going to be in denial because I love you. So it prevents manipulation, and it can establish some trusted, calm, connected communication. It's very, very calm. It is not. If it escalates, that's you're moving way past the bomb conversation. The bomb conversation is you state what you see and hear, and you express your love. Or you might even say, you know, honey, I'm here for you.
It kind of de-escalates stuff. Like if I get nervous, if he goes to the bathroom and closes the door, like if I just said, I see that you went to the bathroom, I feel kind of stupid. Like hearing what I see, that it's really not a reason to catastrophize. I just see that he goes to the bathroom, you know?
Right. So one time my son went to the bathroom, but I heard familiar sounds of like finding a vein.
Yeah.
And water running. I could have said that had I known about this conversation. It's like, I saw you rush into the bathroom, and then I heard thumping on what seemed to be thumping on your arm, and you came out, and I see your eyes are glassy. I'm not saying you just did drugs in my bathroom.
Right.
I'm saying I heard this, and I don't have to say. I think we both know what I'm hearing. I'm just on to you. I'm on to you, and I love you.
Yeah.
So it's a mini intervention, meaning I'm not solving. I'm intervening, though. I'm establishing
self, right?
Yeah, and I'm establishing a new way of communicating here. It doesn't mean that this goes on and on and on. Sure, I'm just going to keep telling you for 2 years that I hear the thumping. That's not what I'm going to do. But I am going to start to establish some honest, calm, loving communication. So that might, people start to trust that that's how I show up. Okay, so the preparation is just using the facts of what you're recording. And then we script it out and revise it as needed so that you convey what you want to convey. And you eliminate things like what they're doing to you, how horrible it makes you feel, what they're doing to their life. This is all opinion, and they can't hear it. Yeah. I've heard it a million times. They're not listening. So it's like, I love you. I've noticed you state the facts. I've noticed you used to come home at 9 p.m. after work. Now you're getting home at 9 a.m. That's different than how things have been.
Yeah.
I love you. If, I am concerned, and I'm here for you. Or I'm getting calls in the middle of the night. I'm just stating the facts. Your eyes were bloodshot, your pupils were dilated. I saw you bump into the wall on your way to the bathroom. This is my son. I saw the plate fly across the room, and the pieces were all over the floor. Because he'd deny it. He doesn't remember.
Oh.
No, that didn't happen. Yeah, I believe what I see and hear, and the pieces are still on the floor. Thank you for cleaning that up. He does or he doesn't. But I'm not going to feed into the denial. I'm not going to hide the evidence anymore. So in the bomb conversation, we keep the scripts really short, simple, and kind, and we use very few and simple words. If there's any judgments, take care of those. It really helps to remember your own business. What is your own business? If you're out of their business, your own business is what you see and hear with your own eyes and ears. not their interpretation or what they're going to do with it. And always, love is your intention and your action. Always. So I'm going to get out of this and move to R7. Okay. All right. So how about we just take a few breaths? Take a few breaths. Let's do the 4-4-8 in the first class. Breathing in for a count of 4. Hold it for 4. And breathing out for 8. Just count slowly to yourself. Breathing in for 4, holding it for 4. And exhale through your mouth, counting to 8. And let everything be. Just notice if there's thoughts. I wish you'd stop talking. I feel what sounds are in the room. How does your body feel? Where does it rest? On the sofa, the bed, the chair? Just notice. And notice if you're counting, if there's less thinking. Notice as you breathe if your mind and your body starts to slow. And bring your deliberate focus to gratitude. That you have this gift of being breathed, available and free. Your body knows exactly what to do. Every cell is moving as it will, does not need your instruction or control. Your veins pump blood. You're being lived, you're being moved, you're being breathed. Your very nervous system is responding, is welcoming this. And bring that all, just your mindful, conscious awareness and your gratitude. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's continue with communication. When we talk about these communication techniques, they work very, very well, unless you're not clear and calm. And then they leave us. It stops working. We revert to the old way. So it really does take preparation and deliberate action. So it also works unless your motive is to change them. Nowhere in these communications is there any plan to change their mind, to change their action. It's to open up dialogue and connection and express love. When someone is able to communicate at a higher level, which we'll go into, well, then it's an invitation. Would you like to brainstorm with me? Are you willing to discuss this with me? Are you willing to make a specific request? Would you be willing to do that for me? And that's a higher level of communication, only if someone's available to that. But in the throes of addiction, chances are they are not. So then we have our open-ended questions and this balm conversation. So again, the essentials to this is getting calm. Noticing our fears, noticing what's happening inside of us, what are our emotions, what's our physical manifestations of stress, taking care of that, and noticing what's going on around us. And that will be, what am I seeing and hearing? And then to be objective about it. Am I in assumptions and expectations and future images of fear, or I am in the truth of what I see and hear without that and without my story of it? There's no story in what I see and hear. It's a fact. You know, if I threw this across the room, I see that you let go of the mouse and it went across the room. I wouldn't say throw, because if I said, oh, I saw you just threw the mouse across the room, it's like, I didn't throw that. It slipped. Right? So we're trying to be really, really, really careful in the words we use, but still saying what we see and hear. So I saw the mouse leave your hand and go across the room. Hard to argue with that. But in the throes of anger, it is not. Now again, this is an intervention, so in the throes of anger, we're not going to use this. We're going to use it when somebody's more receptive, and not when they're totally high. It's when we think that they might be receptive to hearing, or just have enough attention for 2 minutes, and then we just say the facts. And we don't do it right away necessarily, because we want time to prepare. We want time to check in with ourselves. Are we calm? Have we noticed? Are we objective? And do we have the facts as the facts are? And then we prepare it, and then we deliver it. So being calm is consistent practice of breathing, getting into the present moment. Noticing is, you're curious. What am I seeing? You're the observer. Nothing's personal. It's like you're a newspaper reporter. Just the facts, ma'am, what I see and hear. Almost like your facts are going to be double checked. And if it's not factual, you have a lawsuit. Your lawsuit is someone's very angry with you, and we go backwards. So the objectivity is, what you're believing even true. We're not, in this balm conversation, we're not talking about what we believe. We are talking about the truth of what we see and hear. If it's not experienced with our eyes and our ears, we're not delivering it. So if you're believing something, question it first so that you're objective, so that you're getting out of your own way and you're calm. So again, when you prepare this, just the facts, reread it and cross out all emotions, cross out anything that's not observed with your eyes and your ears without interpretation. Remove all opinion, remove your past and future connections, and eliminate involving others in your script. Well, your brother saw this, and I'm reporting it too. No, we're not talking about what brother saw. It's what you see and hear. You. Don't involve anybody else. Okay, so let's practice some of this, okay? So can anyone think of the fact of some stress, something that you saw and heard, and you know, maybe something in the past that you might have wanted to just deliver in this way without all the extra stress and back and forth that could be argumentative. So when my son, I had a rule that I didn't want Chris, a particular kid, in my house. And it could have been, I came home from work and I saw this Chris at the corner of my yard, and he was going down the street. And what happened was I came home and I was really mad. Like, Chris was in the house. I told you I never want that kid in my house. How dare you? I'm at work. I can't trust you. So this would be, so when I came home from work, I saw Chris walking down the street one house away. All right, that's all I saw. I really don't know if he was in the house or not. I'm thinking he was, but I don't know it to be a fact. That's an assumption. And it's going to make my son say, he wasn't in the house. You didn't see him in the house. I know he was in this house. Of course he was in the house. Shut up, Mom. You know, that's where it went to. Or, so what have you seen and heard in your own experiences with your kids? You're on mute, Barbara. Can't hear you still. Maybe I can unmute.
There.
Oh, okay.
Now, why my big face is there. For God's sake. Anyway, that stresses you out. This is something, when we're looking at this factual conversation, we choose something that's stressful for us, and it's really supposed to help us kind of see what we see and not like extrapolate it or exaggerate it.
Right.
So we say what we see and then we're just quiet.
Then we're just quiet. And usually it involves some sort of denial or manipulation.
On their part.
On their part. Yeah.
That's going to be a good tool.
Yeah, it's a good tool.
I mean,
What if they just,
sorry.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say, what if they don't engage back with you? Like when you state something, what if they just like ignore you?
All the better.
All the better?
All the better. Yeah.
I mean, do you at that point say,
that
you're
means
ignoring me?
No. All the better.
No, so they're acknowledging you. That means they're acknowledging you.
Exactly. Maybe they are, but this is an intervention so that it de-escalates conflict.
An intervention
Okay.
It is our intervention.
on ourselves to get out of denial or to get out of our story.
Yes, and it's an intervention for them, because what is an intervention? It's saying you're addicted, and I'm putting it right on the table. That's the intervention. Like, honey, I'm not going to deny this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a professional intervention is doing. Like, it's putting it all out on the table. So this is the mini intervention to say, I'm not denying what I see and hear. And so if they ignore you, I think you've done a great job, because it's calm, you're out of denial, you've expressed your love, and they're not arguing back.
And it's also, I'm sure on their part, it builds respect for us because we're believing in what we see, because for so many years they try to have us unsee what we see. So if we come
Exactly.
stand up straight,
Which is why it's like, because they'll start to say, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I didn't bump into the wall. It's like, you know, honey, I'm just gonna let you know that I'm keeping a record for myself of what I see and hear, because I believe now what I see and hear, and I know it's hard to hear, but I will be sharing that with you because I'm really concerned, and I love you. And have a good day. I'm gonna go to work now. I'll see you later. Or hey, you want to go get some ice cream? We're establishing a connection. We're becoming someone who trusts ourselves, and we are coming out of denial. We're intervening there, and they might go back into denial, but we're not going to follow them there, and we're not going to do this back and forth argument. Like, you know what? I believe what I see and hear, and when I'm concerned, I'm going to bring it up because I love you.
Uh-huh.
That's what love does. Love doesn't stay quiet. Love doesn't argue. This is how I love. Because to not do this means, like, just go ahead. Go ahead and do it. And I'm going to stay behind closed doors and be really worried and angry, and resent you and feel powerless. That's the old way. This is the new way, a much more effective way. It's the precursor to something that might be a more serious intervention, a boundary.
So love doesn't stay quiet. Love doesn't argue. This is how I express love.
Honey, I wouldn't say this is what love does. That's like, what are you talking about? What love does.
Right.
Right. What love does, because you're coming from a place of love. Denial is harmful. Denial is addiction's best friend.
Yes.
It's its best friend, and it allows it to continue. So this mini intervention, this balm conversation says, yeah, no, I'm not joining that denial. And I trust, you just say, I trust what I see and hear. You're crazy. I hear you. I understand why you think that. And then, we'll talk when we're both calm. Have a good day. You've got your scripts, you've got your responses. You only need a few. You need a handful, right? That you can say every time. But that's why we practice this, because it is not going to come naturally. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
that's for sure.
Which is why we choose when we deliver it and how we deliver it. Even if it has to be read, because we love them that much to prepare and deliver it with love, even if we have to read it. And it's like, I'm doing it this way because I just want to really express my love the way I know that I can. Not the way you need to hear it, not the way that's right, the way I know that I can. Just keep it coming home to you. What's going on in your heart home, in your mind home. So any examples that you're...
Well, I have an example.
Mm-hmm.
So, my son is in jail, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to be out soon, and he wants to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stressing out about that.
Mhm. Okay, so that's a different conversation. It's really like a boundary. We'll get to that, Deborah.
Okay.
And so it's really considering what you want for you first.
Right.
What's your clear yes or no? Not right or wrong, just your clear yes or no, so that you can deliver it.
I had to chat this week with him about the baby and asked me to try to get the baby, and I said that I didn't, I'm sorry, I don't want to raise a baby.
Yeah. So, you know, I hear you, and I don't want to raise a baby. It's like I validate that I hear you. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it's hard. And that connecting word, and no, I don't want to raise a baby.
And he handled it.
See, this honest directness is such a kindness, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just so clear. But if he was yelling on the phone, it would be, you know, I hear you cursing me out. I hear you using, you know, whatever. I hear you saying F you to me. I love you. Let's talk when we're both calm. Not, you know, you're calling me. Why did you bother calling me if you're just going to curse me out? It's not that. I hear you saying these words to me. I love you. Let's talk when we're both calm.
Right.
Now, a boundary would be I don't stay on the phone with people who are cursing me out.
Right.
I love you. That
And
you're,
the I is important. I try to say it always.
yeah. Any questions about how to find the facts of denial?
I have a question
Mhm.
about
I'm
just what we're just talking about, what we see and
Mhm.
don't see, because I'm looking at it as a way to sort of just redirect from my getting all escalated and scared about stuff. Like,
Mhm.
and so if I see, but I just want to know what happens, like if I don't get a text back, like if I text him and then like 3 hours later, there's still no text back. Is there any point in saying, I see that you haven't written me back?
No, no, because this is about what you actually do see.
I see that you haven't, but there's no point. This is trying to manipulate the situation.
So it could be I sent a text.
Sorry, my dog.
Usually, is there a usual that you get a text back? And so let's say it was the unusual. So you're seeing the unusual. So again, you know, I love you. I noticed that when I text, usually I get a response in a day. And it seems different right now because I didn't hear back for 3 days.
That's good.
And then you take responsibility. It's like, you know, I do get concerned when I don't hear from you for 3 days.
That's connecting.
Yeah, I really love you. Now, if they are not in denial, let's say it was a friend of mine who has no addiction, then I'd use I'd say, you know, maybe nonviolent communication, and you have that in the handout too, where it's like, you know, I observe you state what you observe. Like, you know, I sent you a text, and usually I hear back from you within a day, and I haven't heard back from you in about 3 days, you state your feelings. I take responsibility. I start to get worried. My imagination takes over. You state your need. I'd love to hear from you, or, work this out with you. And then your request. Would you be willing to, figure out how to text earlier, or whatever your request would be? But that's with somebody who's willing to engage in communication with you. The bomb conversation is to address denial.
Thank you.
Denial and manipulation and addiction.
Yeah.
Unhealthy behavior. So in your handout with let's finish the bomb conversation. So it's the bomb conversation, even nonviolent communication, it's really staying in your own business and stating either one. It's stating what your observation is, your observation of what you see and what you hear. If you see a discrepancy, that's what you see. So it's not like, oh, you didn't text me for 3 days. I noticed there's a difference. I'm noticing a difference. I see there's a difference. Usually I hear back from in this time, and I'm noticing that I don't hear back from you for a week. I start to get concerned. Well, don't be. I hear you. I love you. Just wanted to, share what I'm noticing. Well, don't. Yeah, that's what I do. I really, I am careful about what I see and hear, because I love you. So like throwing that I love you in there, the validating, the calmness. I'm not trying to change you. I'm not telling you, call me, every day. That's not what I'm doing. I am, though, acknowledging there's something going on here that I see. So then in preparation, it's preparing by getting calm and considering where, when, and how you're going to eventually invite your loved one to have this discussion. And it's not so much a discussion until if it turns into a discussion, and if it does, you want to be prepared for that in case it escalates with your open-ended questions, or your, I hear you and no, or I understand. Let's talk when we're both calm. I'm going to end this conversation now. So consider your level of calm. Practice your script again and again. And your script is really going to be like 3 sentences. This is what I see. This is what I hear. If there's a concern, I love you. And you wish them well. So your tone of voice is calm, it's kind, it's loving. Your body language is open. You're making eye contact if possible. Your breathing is steady, or you breathe prior to delivery so that your sympathetic nervous system is calming down. If you're on the phone, it's, you're so prepared that this fear is you took care of it prior to this conversation. So until you can deliver it that way, with that kind of concern and kindness, compassion and love, you're just not ready to give this conversation. You're not ready. And that's okay. Just notice and practice it, but don't give it, because this can be really powerful. And if misused, it's just reinforcing that we're not trusting ourselves to show up in a different way, and so they can't trust us either. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's just a few sentences. So Your delivery is with love and care, always. You consider the timing and the place that you're inviting your person into a conversation. And you invite and negotiate time and place based on your preparedness and your loved one's sobriety. Their mental capacity, their physical capacity to be delivered to.
And so what if there's like a bunch of these? You just do the same thing over and over again?
Carefully. It's not like, oh, I've got a whole book of things. I'm gonna do one today, and then I'm gonna do one tomorrow. It's, pick your important ones that you'd say, wow, this is something that's stressing me out. There's a lot of denial going on. I want to come out of denial, and I want to connect, and I want to express my love. So I'm going to use it carefully, right? Because would it be, if the whole intention is connection and love, would you be accomplishing that by like, oh, I have another one. I gave one this morning, and now, oh, I have another one for tonight. Oh, I've got another one for tomorrow. What's that going to do?
Right.
So it's truly,
Well, if they wouldn't have so many things that they stress us out about, we wouldn't have to have a list that long.
right,
Yeah.
You know?
right.
Oh, but I know what you mean. Pick the most important one.
If only, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And again, these aren't designed to, addiction is progressive. It's not like we go on with this forever and ever. Because after this comes boundaries,
Mm.
where they're necessary. Boundaries become necessary because the situation is so out of hand.
Yeah.
It requires more than a mini intervention
Yep.
for safety, for your sanity, for change. So all of this is designed to shift the connection to love and skills of communication. So when you're delivering it, you watch your facial expressions, your tone of voice, your body language, your breathing. You've opened your heart, you've opened your mind, you've come out of fear, and you're curious, you're learning, you're connected. And it's always, always from a place of love. Always. So again, if you need it, say 3 times a day, but it's from a place of love, that's your motive. Well, that your love is expressed, not the delivery of ammunition, right? You're expressing your love, honey. So if my son gets high in the morning, I see your eyes are dilated, they're glassy. I love you. I'm going to go to work now. And then I come home from work. So I heard you say you would clean the sink. I see the sink is full of dishes.
Mm.
I'm going to have dinner now. Or at night, or the next morning. So I heard you say you'd be home at 10, and it's, I see you coming in now at 4 p.m. the next day. So that's 3 times in like a 24-hour period. But it's all like, I love you. I just love you. I am noticing, though, what I see in here. But it's not like, here you go again. Here's another thing.
God, but that's what I feel like the response will be, or would be, is all you notice is I I just don't feel like they would be quiet.
Okay, so again, this is in conjunction with other ways of communicating and acknowledging their strengths. So in week 2, I think it's like give affirmations, acknowledge their strengths, acknowledge their God-given gift. So we're communicating, we're connecting, whether it be we're communicating about their denial, or we're communicating, and again, listening. It's like I'm listening. Hey, honey, how you doing? You want to have dinner? Even if it's this, if it's like I see the sink full of dishes, would you like to have dinner with me? And maybe it's there. Maybe they will respond that way. It's still the intervention that I am not going to feed denial. So, and if you're noticing that this is not an effective thing, or they're getting defensive, it's like, I hear you. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah, I get that this would be hard to hear. Yep. Tell me about that. What's that like for you? Right? We have those what hows. What's that like for you to hear me talking like this? Or what solutions do you have, honey? I'm open to ideas. So when you deliver, you really have a great opportunity to connect and keep the doors open for more loving kindness and the kind of support that helps for this occasion or the future with persons. And it helps you to learn more about them and yourself, and to grow and practice communication and connection under stress. So how could you look forward to conflict? It is the way you're going to get practice for a different way. It's going to be the way you prove to yourself that there is a different way and you can do it. So conflict becomes your teacher. Conflict becomes your friend. So if they get upset, okay, I've got another communication tool. Or at the very least, I'm teaching myself that I've got to breathe through this so that I'm not contributing to an argument. Or I'm seeing that this is getting more complicated and I need a boundary. So the bomb conversation is not about solving. It's about clarifying. It's about coming out of denial. So it is an opening to invite whatever happens, whatever is happening, and allow it to be what it is. We're not trying to solve it or fix. It's letting go of results. When we deliver this mini intervention, it's not like, oh, okay, now I'm out of denial, so they're going to come out of denial. It's not about that. It's about clarity and coming out of denial and communication with love. So yes, they may still lie. They may still attempt at manipulation. They may start an argument so that you go back into denial and start arguing with them. That may happen, but it's not personal. It's going to show you their condition. So they're giving you really helpful information. How steep into denial are they? So what open-ended questions might you have? You continue your bomb conversation, which doesn't really, it's not really a conversation. It's more like a delivery. And maybe they converse back and now you're brainstorming. What solutions do you have, honey? How can we work this out together living in the same house? Mhm. It's not about trusting them. It's about trusting you. And it takes time and consistency to have this healthier way of communicating. So notice if their lies and manipulation do continue. It just shows, shows you where you're at and where they're at. But it's not something to enable. So if you have to interrupt and state the point of it all, you know what? I'm just going to tell you the facts of what I see and hear. That's what I do. I love you. So you're not engaging in this back and forth arguing anymore. It's not, because that's ineffective. We're back into them. We're back into their denial. So boundaries. What do you think a boundary is? What's a boundary for you? What does boundary even mean? We use this word a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Put out your boundaries.
I think it's my
I
favorite
guess
one.
it's what you can live with or what you can how much you can put up with
Mm-hmm.
or what protects you. A boundary maybe protects you. What is your, your bottom line kind of like, what is it? How far will you let them push you until you finally are like, okay, no.
Yeah. How many boundaries do you think you need?
A
As many
lot.
as it takes to find peace. A lot.
And what happens when you establish a boundary and they don't respect it?
Then I guess you have to try to stand tough and enforce the boundary.
Yeah. So boundaries can be pretty complicated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can.
Obviously, it's not something that probably any of us are probably very good at.
Yeah. So let's talk about boundaries because we can use them much more efficiently. You're right. They are for you. They are about your peace, not about changing anybody else. They are strictly for you and to use when necessary, and only when you're really comfortable using them. When you understand what a boundary is, because you're not comfortable with something outside of you or someone's behavior, or you're not feeling safe, or let's say your house is getting destroyed or things are being stolen, right? So boundaries are for you. And really, really important before you establish a boundary, is it for control? Is it to fix?
No.
That's not a motive for a boundary. Your motive for a boundary should strictly be peace in your home and for safety, for your self-care. What can I live with? Self-care. If you want to call it selfish, that is what it is. So when you consider a boundary, what do you hope to change by setting that boundary? So you set a boundary. What do you think you're going to get after you set that boundary?
Peace.
And what are the chances that you're actually going to get it?
Can you say that again?
Then what are the chances that you're actually going to get peace by setting that boundary?
I don't. Peace when I do.
Well, you feel good inside that you said it. You just have to believe in yourself that you're going to enforce it.
Enforce
True.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So when you consider enforcing it, it's really important to consider what kind of reaction there's going to be. So you're going to establish this boundary, right? And it's all about your peace in your home, peace of mind, or, you know, peace in your life, that it's all to take care of you because, you know, that's our job to take care of us. It's not our child. That's not the addicted person's job to take care of us. They're not going to do that. So we can anticipate a reaction on their part. Typically, people do not like getting a boundary established from us, right? And especially if we haven't enforced the boundaries that we've stated prior, well, they can trust us that we're not following our boundary either. So we've got to make up some time here. We've got to make up some, we've got to resolve that. So when you anticipate what the disagreement is, what their reaction will be, what's your plan to respond to that reaction?
I've used, it's more about me than you. Like the things that I need from him, you know, like he needs to keep a calendar of when he's going to come over here. And even though that's a pain for him, it doesn't matter because it's my well-being in my house. When he comes over, I want to know. And so I think he got that when I said it's for me, you know.
So what is it for you that you want to know when he's coming over?
I don't want surprises. I'm done with surprises in this life. So I don't want him just barging in. He's welcome. It's his home, but I need to see it on a calendar, like when he's planning to come over here and work.
On your calendar?
It's a shared calendar. He figured that out.
Oh, I see. Okay, so your boundary is, I need, before you come over, I need to see it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you don't see it on the calendar, what's your plan?
That's the tricky part. We've been talking about this, and I should say, if I don't see it on the calendar, you can't come in that day. We've only just started this Odyssey. So what I do is I try to reason. I try to tell him how it affects me. And I think he cares,
Mm-hmm.
I think, because he's getting better at the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But I always like to try to explain it, and I explain that, you know, it scares me if he just comes in because I don't know who I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to be prepared. And he seemed to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that my alternative is to say, okay, just go back. You can't stay here. You can't come to work here. But that's so hard for me because this is his home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and mine too.
Mm-hmm.
So for today, the boundary is okay because I just explained why, again, I need it. It's not a punishment for him. It makes my life better here.
Yeah, it's not a punishment at all. Mm-hmm. It's just saying, I'm putting up a fence here. I'm not putting up a big wall. I'm putting up a fence. And I'm the one who controls the gate. So it could be like someone's going to haul rocks over that fence. And so when we establish a boundary, it's what rocks are going to come over that fence. So if I said to my son, when I'm at work, you cannot have your friends here because I want to protect my home. I want my home free of addicts when I'm at work. I had no way to enforce that though.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a boundary because I couldn't enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a boundary if I was willing to hire a security guard while I was at work, or have someone watch my house for me while I was at work, or stand guard, have a neighbor. Then it would have been a boundary that I could enforce. And then to consider, well, What am I willing to do if or when he has his buddies coming into my house to do drugs while I'm at work?
Mm.
Am I willing to call the police? Am I willing to have my house raided? Am I willing to start eviction? Because if I'm not willing to do that stuff, I'm not going to stick to my boundary. So it is not an option to state that as a boundary. I can't enforce it. And at the time, I probably wouldn't have been willing to, have my house raided every time I'm at work. So when considering your boundaries, how ready and willing are you to stick to it? Because what are those consequences if you establish a boundary? So very carefully, what do you need for you? What will the consequences be? And are you ready and willing to stick to your response to those consequences? So a lot of people might say too, I've heard this a lot, my boundary is that I lock the door at 11 p.m. And if you come home after 11 p.m., the doors will be locked because I need my sleep, and I go to sleep at 11. I could not have done that because I know that my son would have broken through a window. So that wouldn't be a good boundary for me because I'd have broken windows. And so now what am I going to do when he comes home at 2 a.m. and I have locked doors and he breaks through a window? So that's why boundary setting is a really careful plan. It's almost like the last thing before the last thing, What are you willing to do? Because this is going to step up. It goes past the mini intervention and talk. And the thing of it is, it's when you use the mini interventions and effective communication, the boundaries become pretty clear and believable. Because again, you have a connection. The other thing with boundaries are you are expressing them with love. And you've established this line of communication and connection so that they trust you.
Or that you trust you even.
You trust you. Yeah. First and foremost, you're trusting you. So it's not a boundary unless it's clear and kind and it's followed by you each and every time. And it's not a boundary if your motive is to control or fix. That is manipulation. Right out. It's just you're trying to manipulate them. And it's usually punitive. I'll show you. Because I'm going to get control one way or the other. I'm going to show you that I'm in control. But that's not a boundary. That's fighting. And to ask clearly, will the boundary help you? Will it make your life easier, more peaceful? Will it establish healthier interaction if it's possible to do that? Because that's going to help you when it's challenged. The boundaries are usually challenged, right? You're stopping me from doing what I want to do. I want to come home at 2 a.m. I want free reign of this house. I want free reign of your life. And we're saying, no, that's not okay with me anymore. So typically there's a reaction, and it's not a pleasant one. So be really prepared for resistance, even argument. And consider again just stating the facts in a kind, clear, simple, and short response, and stick to it. Because it's not personal. What's personal is that you're coming out of denial and you're taking care of you in a skilled, communicating, loving way. It will be your legacy. It's like, I know that he's mad at me, he's angry, he's cursing me out, he's saying he hates me. And what he's met with is a calm, loving, skillful, communicating, connected mother on the other side of that. And I truly believe that is what it will register. So having peace in your own self, in your own home, in your own life is truly a gift. I mean, it's like our divine right to have this, to give ourselves permission for it, and to teach other people, like, this is how adults live, and it's available to you too. So I'm going to teach you the way. I'm going to show you the way. Because someday I hope that you establish this for yourself too. Or we teach that, like, just walk all over me, just walk all over me. But that doesn't feel good for anybody. So remember, if you don't stick to your own boundary, you are contributing to confusion and providing an opportunity and permission for your person to ignore it, to continue their behavior, and to know that you really can be manipulated. So why wouldn't they manipulate you? Right? Why wouldn't they? They know that you can be manipulated. And you know it too. But we don't like it, so we blame them. It just is part of the disease. So if you can't stick to a boundary, don't set it. And when you do express it, have it be calm and kind. It is for you. It's not, it's just kind. So if the boundary was, I no longer want strangers in my home, it's saying what I want for me, rather than, you can't bring anyone here anymore because you don't respect me. Those second two sentences, that's not establishing what my boundary is, what my self-care boundary is. It's saying what they're doing. It's outside. It's my motive to say, you're wrong, you need to fix that. Now I'm going to say that I'm going to take responsibility for having strangers in my home. I no longer want strangers in my home. And this is what I'm going to do if that happens. Do you understand? It's not a conversation. It's not up for negotiation. Boundaries are not up for negotiation. So that's why there's really very few of them. It's like, pick your top 3 rules, because it's going to be hard to stick to these. They're going to be challenged. And you have to be really clear that you can stick to it and consider, what's going to happen when you establish the boundary. And if you can't stick to it, then it just becomes very valuable contribution to conflict. So one example is, I know my car is being used while I've seen you hide. If it's my car, if I'm paying insurance for it, my car. I'm concerned it's also being used to get drugs or use drugs in it. I won't accept this anymore. I'm very concerned that you'll be hurt or hurt others. My boundary is my car is no longer available to you. I love you, honey. So this one, I could enforce. If I lock my car up, I lock the garage up, I put an alarm on. It's more enforceable, right? They could steal it, yes. So there again, what am I willing to do if they steal my car? What do you mean? I don't use it for the drugs. I only use it to get to work. Ba, 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 ba. I understand. And I'm concerned. My car is no longer available to you. So if or when time and circumstance allows, if circumstances change, you can offer to discuss other options. What other solutions do you have, honey? How do you see that working out? How does that help me? So it's like, you know, I'm giving less information, I'm talking less and less, and I'm inviting their ideas so that I can learn more about where they're at. So connecting repeatedly with bomb conversations or other communication techniques can prevent or empower the need for boundaries. So when we're coming out of denial, it could be, and we're encouraging with open-ended questions, other solution-oriented ideas, and we're not engaging in denial, which will support the addiction and its behaviors. When we're intervening and stopping that madness, maybe they choose recovery, or maybe, you know, something else happens that we don't need a boundary. But if we do, it's all precursor to establishing a boundary and the consequences that are going to come with that, if we're willing to impose those consequences, because usually the boundaries will come with that. So when you're calm and clear and communicating really well, the denial is brought into the light and the natural consequences occur. They're natural consequences. They're not being forced on anybody. They're just happening naturally, like your breath happens naturally. You know? So carefully consider their reaction and expect to be tested with all of this, right? Expect to be tested. Have your scripts, have your responses. Hear yourself saying no. You know, really consider what your boundaries are. So you may need to consider a different approach. So again, until it's lived, all of this awareness, all of these tools really have no power unless you live them and practice them. And it really does take practice. And the test is the conflict. And then it's like so comforting, you know. Have you experienced that? It's like, oh wow, I handled that differently. That feels really good. It just feels really good because we are establishing a different relationship, a different way with ourselves and with other people, a way that feels much truer and much more effective for ourselves. I don't know when it was, but we were talking about faith, and it's like faith without works is just, you know, it's just words. It's just a concept. So we can have all this hope and we can have all this faith, but until we actually put it into action, until we put it to work, they're just concepts. And they're not available to us when we really need them, right? So in your handouts, with the email, when I sent the curriculum, you'll see the nonviolent communication process. I'm gonna stop sharing. Put that up. Okay, so this is what the this is the motivational interviewing, the stages of change. So when someone's in real denial, and here we go, change talk. So open-ended questions, use affirmations, that's giving positive feedback, reflective listening. Yeah, I hear you, you know, that does sound difficult. And summarize. So I hear you saying, it's like, so I hear you saying this, and my understanding is that you want that. Because they just, so that's summarizing what they say. And then it's all these questions for various stages of change. Are they in complete denial? Are they moving into, you know, contemplating some change? For us too, we can even ask ourselves these questions. Are they preparing for treatment, for rehab, for finding a meeting? So that's one handout that you have. And then this will walk you through a model for working the 7 steps to Bone Through Challenge. This whole thing is a handout that I sent, and it walks you through all the steps. So what's the challenge? What's the problem? And then what am I doing that creates calm in me? What do I see and hear? What's going on with me? How do I manage my emotions, my body language? What are the facts? I'm going to write this all down. And then I'm going to be reminded. I start with love. I stick to the facts. I leave out my interpretations, and I end with love. And then it's the balm conversation. I stick to the script. It's my tone. I finish the script with love. And if necessary, setting a boundary. So those are the steps of that. And then here's, this walks you through the nonviolent communication process. Again, it's what you observe, what you see and hear. When I see this and that, I don't really do this. I don't like getting into other people's business and telling them what they see here and how they feel. I stick to the left side. So this is what I see and hear, honey. This is what I feel. What I need is this. I really value peace in my life. Would you be willing to brainstorm with me other ways to handle this? Or would you be willing to clean the sink at night instead of in the morning? You know, little things like that. So this is when people are really available and willing to communicate. And then there's a whole handout on what nonviolent communication is. And much more information if you research that. Okay, so that's lots of communication techniques to establish a different connection and to be encouraging and motivating, to deal with conflict, and to really consider what your moves are going forward. And it helps with everybody. And it helps you feel empowered. So I script it all out. And especially like Thankfully, I'm on the phone with my kids, so they don't see me reading it.
Oh.
So I know it sounds like a lot, right? It sounds like a lot that we have to do.
Yeah.
But what happens if we don't do it?
We go down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, when we go down the rabbit hole, we just stay contributing to the insanity. Like, it has to, someone's got to stop the insanity, right? And eventually, this really does become a new way. It does become internalized and integrated and much more available. Like you were saying, Lisa, like and Liz, it's like you just catch yourself thinking in a different way. Like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm into this. Uh-huh. And what happens is when you go down the rabbit hole, we're in it less and less frequently and less deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how to get out. And that's powerful. That's really, really powerful. So, what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways? What are your questions, concerns, observations?
I think it's just practice. I mean, you just have to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds so wonderful to hear it so calm and just to handle it so well. And just to be able to put that into action just would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think for me, like little bite-sized pieces, like this week, I'm going to really try to do the see and hear because
Mhm.
that's not my normal way. And I fool myself into being way far down the road in my made-up story. So when I'm standing across from him or even anyone, might try it with just people that don't light me up. So I see that, I hear that, something like that, just to get used to having faith in what I see. I
Yes.
don't even have faith in what I see right now.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my task. The rest seems really good, but first I think I have to do this.
Yeah, I love that step one. What's the smallest step? When I first learned this, that's what I did, Barbara.
It is.
I started to just say, oh, I hear, I see. And I started to practice the what, how with like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Just, start talking about in facts what I see and hear.
I can even do it like with my animals.
Yeah.
Like, Leo, I see you wagging your tail. I'm not going to assume, but it's.
Yeah. I hear such a mindfulness in it too. Like I'm
Yeah.
so present moment with
That's the thing. Yeah.
just what I see and hear.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
meditative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's tons of information, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just invite you to take it in little bits and just practice it because you'll probably find, I feel like I don't need all of it. I just need like
Some of it.
bits that work for me in my situations, And then when I start to integrate it, it doesn't become like this big chore. It's like, oh man, this stuff works. Oh my gosh. To
Yeah.
not do
It,
it starts to feel uncomfortable not to do this.
Oh, I can't.
When you know there's another way that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would you? Why? What's in it for you? What's the benefit for you to actually practice?
for me, it's a better relationship. I'm not going to change my son. I just want to communicate with them better.
Yeah. What would get in your way of using these tools and information, of practicing? What obstacle do you perceive to be in your way?
My fear of just wanting him to be happy.
Mhm. And whose business is his happiness?
His. Thank you, Joanne.
Whose business is your happiness?
Mine.
Yeah. You know, it's like such a sensitive thing. Of course, we want our children to be happy, but look what happens when they're not, and we need it so desperately. Look what happens to us.
It's not good.
Desperation meets desperation.
Yeah. Right.
It just doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
I find that when I'm grounded, I can meet my son's unhappiness where he is.
That's really good.
I can just meet him there. I don't have to join it. I can meet him there, and I just feel so much more empowered to validate and ask questions, and or just listen, just hold space.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift for him, that you're giving him such a gift.
Oh, it's such a gift. And honestly, I feel it's like, is it easy to hear pain?
No.
Oh,
Like, oh my gosh, I just listened.
mm-hmm.
I know that I gave a really beautiful gift.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to be grounded to be able to do that. Or
Very
else we would
grounded.
fix it. All that
It
stuff.
doesn't mean I don't get off the phone and cry hysterically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it means. So I take care of that. But there's a lot of surrender to this, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of surrender to the mysteries of I'm not going to know. I'm not going to have control. But what I can control is how I connect and communicate. I can do that. That is very, very powerful. And I really don't, I mean, I remember not, gosh, I remember just contributing to insanity, not having skills, and there's just no time to waste. There's just no
Yeah.
time to waste with this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
It's such a loving act too. It's just so loving. We give all this to ourselves and to our children. I don't know what's going to happen. I never did know what was going to happen. I mean, with or without addiction, I had no idea what was going to happen. Anyway, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow to any of us. But so I tell a story of addiction. With or without the story, I still don't know. But what I do know is I can practice my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What a way to show up in the world, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful stuff. It's not just for our children, it's for everyone's a child. For everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so homework will be to take some of this communication stuff and practice it, just to hear yourself with your homework buddy saying these things. Share a situation and or 2 or 3, and practice using some of this. And give each other some feedback. Like, if you were the person hearing that, would you become defensive?
Mm.
And which is okay, because test it out, so that your homework buddy can practice hearing themselves. What a gift to give each other, right? And pick a real situation. It doesn't have to be with your child. It could be with your employer, your sibling, your husband, whoever. Whether it be the nonviolent communication, the White House, even if it, or just using the bomb conversation, or if it's establishing a boundary, and then give each other feedback, even if it sounds like correction. You know, what if you consider it this way? Or I don't hear that as a soft delivery. That would make me defensive. Is there another way that you could say that? So here you're already using those communication techniques. Like, what other way? How else can you say that? What other tool can you use? How does that sound for you as homework?
Great.
And if you have any questions about this, just shoot me an email, okay? So next week is our last week. So I invite you to take a look at the handouts. Think about what might be gaps for you, what you might want more explanation about, what you might want more practice about. If you want to meet one-to-one, I really, really want you to get this. And
Can I come live at your house? I might get it then.
we're going to do a 3-month rehab.
Yeah.
Yes, there needs to be a rehab for moms.
Truly. Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing to do like a 28-day
On the beach,
daily?
Malibu.
There we go.
Oh gosh, anywhere.
Yeah. So think about, also, I'd really love your feedback about what worked, what doesn't work, what gaps you think there might be in this program, what you think would be helpful. I know it's a lot of information. And again, it's you always have it. You know, I give it to you in this way so that you always have it for reference. There is another handout about boundary setting. So that's just something that you could look at. And that's really, it's mostly applicable if someone's living in your home or coming into your home and dealing with things like that. It's like, oh gosh, like what am I tolerating here? Okay, so is everybody available to partner up for homework, or just let me know if you're not?
Liz and I did it somewhat today.
Oh, you did? Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we definitely try.
We shared some things we were having problems with boundaries.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what a gift to give yourself and each other to really hold space and practice this with each other. Really, thank yourself for that. And I really acknowledge and honor the investment that you've put into your time and effort. I really admire it. I really do. I just really, it's really heartwarming and touching to know that you're making such a difference in your own life and for your children, for your whole family. Like it's a ripple effect into more than just your family too. I mean, that's really incredible. It's so exciting for me.
Hmm.
So, thank you. All right. So, any questions or comments? Just want to scoop it all up. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.